good people. As you can see from that intro, spring is beginning to arrive here in Green Country. The daffodils are blooming, the daylilies are starting to emerge, and the soil temperature is staying above 45 degrees. All of that means it is go time for gardening. I want a big garden this year, so I've got a lot of work to do building new beds. Now, our average rainfall here is over 40 inches, but the soil in the backyard is very sandy, and that's always made keeping your plants watered kind of a challenge. So this year, I'm breaking down all of our old raised beds and building all new deep mulch beds. Follow me. I'll show you how we do it. Because this ground has not been worked before, it's full of perennial grasses and weeds. In order to help eliminate them, I'm putting down a layer of thick contractor's paper. This step is usually not necessary for an existing garden bed. The paper that I'm using costs between $12 to $15 per roll and covers an area 6 feet wide by 48 feet long, with a little bit left over. Now you can also use things like newspaper, cardboard, fall leaves, straw, or even grass clippings to accomplish a similar effect. But I've found that paper rolls are just convenient. They roll out fast and can be held in place with just a few concrete blocks until the mulch is added. They have no tape or staples to remove, no chemical dyes to worry about, and leave no gaps for grass or weeds to poke through. Some weeds, particularly those that store lots of starch in their roots, will still manage to break through, so it helps to extract those before getting started. This method of smothering weeds instead of tilling them under or spraying them with herbicides is called occultation, from the Latin occultus, meaning to hide. By hiding the soil surface from the sun, existing grasses and weeds die. Furthermore, seeds that are in the soil already are encouraged to germinate, but as they cannot receive any sunlight, the seedlings also die. Hidden away from the sun, these plants and their roots decompose, attracting the native earthworm population, who will feast on this decomposing vegetation, aerate the soil, and leave behind their castings, which is some of the finest organic fertilizer on Earth. Some other materials that are also used for occultation include sheets of plastic, weed mats, and silage tarps, and they all accomplish the same goal. But this paper is best for my purposes because once it's done its job, it will also decompose and become part of the soil. Now that I've laid down the paper layer, it's time to add the mulch. For a 3 foot wide, 48 foot long bed to be 4 to 6 inches deep, between 48 to 72 cubic feet of material is needed. My old pickup truck can easily haul that much, and even leave some extra for other projects like mulching around the pear tree in this scene. When handling large quantities of mulch, it helps to have the proper tools. The composting or manure fork and a sturdy wheelbarrow make the work much easier. Although the truck can haul a lot, the wheelbarrow is a bit limited, so several trips will be necessary. I suppose that now is a good time to talk about deep mulch garden beds. Some terms that you may have heard are lasagna style, Ruth Stout, or back to Eden. All of these garden methods are variations of the same idea, layering compost and or compostable materials with a thick layer of mulch on top. In the Ruth Stout method, the mulch layer is usually straw. In Back to Eden, arborist wood chips are used. The beds that I'm constructing are essentially lasagna style, where the compost and mulch are whatever you happen to have available. What I have available in large quantities happens to be arborist wood chips. These are produced when tree services prune and cut down trees, then grind them up, branches, leaves, twigs, and all. The local municipality operates a green waste site where residents can bring their yard waste and tree services can bring their material for disposal for a fee. Everything is fed into a tub grinder and reduced to a very fine mulch. Pickup is free, and I can take as much as I need. You may have noticed that I'm not adding a layer of manure or compost. There are a couple of reasons for that. I stopped using manure last year because the use of persistent broadleaf herbicides has contaminated many sources of manure. It is becoming increasingly difficult to find manure that does not contain at least some trace of these chemicals. Although I do have some compost, I do not have a sufficient quantity to apply a 1 to 2 inch layer to each bed, as is customary when making a lasagna-style bed. In order to compensate for this lack, I will apply what compost I have at the time of planting, and only where seeds or transplants are being placed. It's important to mention that when using a deep mulch gardening system, one should make sure to plant seed or transplant seedlings into soil or compost, not the mulch itself. This is why the ideal mulch depth is 4 to 6 inches. Although one could make their beds deeper, the mulch will need to be moved aside when planting so that the plants can establish their roots in the soil. Once the seedlings or transplants have been established, the mulch can be pulled back around the stems. Some of the benefits of using a deep mulch system, any deep mulch system, include water retention and weed control. Having a deep layer of mulch does not make watering or weeding unnecessary, but it does help the garden endure drought somewhat, and when the weed seeds germinate in the mulch layer, they are much easier to remove. As the mulch decomposes, it adds additional organic material to the bed. Fall leaves can fully decompose within a year, and straw may break down even faster. Arborist wood chips contain some materials that decompose quickly, but it generally takes in excess of 3 years for fine wood chip mulch to break down. Mulch derived from perennial sources is often superior to material from annual plants because perennials establish expansive root systems over time, allowing them to accumulate minerals from deep below the surface of the soil. As leaf or wood chip mulch decomposes, these minerals become available to your plants. One might have questions or concerns about fungus, termites, or nitrogen availability when using wood chips as a mulch. I will try to address some of those. The vast amount of fungal organisms that one will find within wood chip mulch are saprotrophic. That means that they only consume dead material and pose no risk to living plants. The remains of fungal decomposition, however, are very attractive to earthworms. Although termites do eat wood, they abhor exposure and wet conditions. So long as the garden is receiving regular watering, the only place the chips will remain dry is on the surface, not a suitable environment for termites. One of the most common concerns about using wood chip mulch is that the chips will tie up nitrogen. All mulch, be it straw or leaves or wood chips, is mostly carboniferous materials, the brown part of compost. At the point where mulch and soil meet, microorganisms work to decompose this carboniferous material. This is called the soil horizon. The soil horizon is the zone where nitrates are used in the decomposition process. Above the horizon is mulch. Below it is soil. By not tilling and planting into the soil, the risk of nitrogen deficiency is eliminated. Well, that's the way we do it. Thank you for joining me today. If you found any part of this video useful, please hit the like button and don't forget to leave comments below.
I don't want no fungus in my beds. Don't want no worms neither.
As always, don't just take the word of some random guy on the internet. Do your own research. Until next time.